You are listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 100. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where I show you how to stop over drinking in 90 days without missing out on life. If you're not an alcoholic, but fed up with saying yes to a drink when you mean to say no, you're in the right place. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. But first, what did I just say? Episode 100. 100? Wow. And it feels like yesterday since I've been doing this. Goodness me. And it's really funny because people often ask me, how do you find things to talk about each week? Right? And the truth is that there is so much. Now, I do plan my content calendar out in advance, and I will be frank with you that I really wanted this topic. Right, it's more fun than you think. I wanted this to be the 100th episode milestone because for me personally, it's one of the main things that has changed for me. Right, when I changed my relationship with alcohol, it was my view of life, and it was actually my experience of life as well. Yes, that life with less or no alcohol is more fun than you think. And this has gone on to serve as one of really the main anchors of my business and what I offer to my clients. And there is so much to say on this topic. So I thought I'd start with doing my Julie Andrews here, my favourite things, my favourite top things that make life with less alcohol, or in my case, life with no alcohol, so much more fun than you might think, and so much more fun than I absolutely 100% would have thought back in the day. So here you go, here are some. It's fun to read a book after dinner. It's fun to be able to drive always, at any time of the day or night. And it's extremely funny when I see how I become everyone's favourite friend at the end of a party as they're all standing in the queue, shivering, waiting for the minibus to come and collect them. All right, there's me off in my car with them squeezing in the back. All right, it's fun to have cheaper restaurant bills. Have you seen the price of a bottle of wine? Or worse still, wine by the glass? And it's also kind of fun to see the rather crestfallen look of waiters as they walk over with the wine list, you're obviously looking to make some nice revenue there, and we basically turn them away. It's fun to never, ever worry about how I'm going to feel in the morning, at least because of alcohol. Right? I might have a cold and then not be feeling that great the next day. That's a different thing. Right? It's fun to never slur my words. It's fun. It's so much fun, this, to have people wonder how I can be having such a hilariously marvellous time while drinking nothing more exciting than sparkling water. I could go on and on. But probably the three top most fun things about this are, it's fun to have given myself this opportunity to create and grow my own business. Right? I remind myself every day that what I've effectively done is I have taken the desire I had for alcohol and I have poured that time and that energy into the desire to create solutions for my clients, which therefore creates my business. It is the most fun to work with my clients, to share in their ups and downs, but mostly to share in their transformations, to see them come from being rather fearful or downright skeptical. Side note, yes, very few people, when they start this work, they have 100% hand on heart belief it's going to work, right? So if that's how you're thinking, you are not alone. But the joy and fun in seeing my clients come from being in that position to seeing possibility, and then to completely upending how they see alcohol and the role it plays in their life and how little it factors into their new identity. Wow, that really is so much fun. But probably top of the pops for me is it's been most fun to see just what I'm capable of. Now, as I say this, some of you may be feeling a little irked or a little annoyed. You might be gritting your teeth, maybe thinking I'm sounding a little bit smug, right? That I'm here singing the praises of less alcohol when that seems like such an airy-fairy concept to you. But I think it's so important for you to see what's on the other side, right? We spend so much time just seeing what we have within our day-to-day life. That's how our brains think about what's realistic for us. But I think it's so important to see, just what's out there for you. And I tell you, I was you once upon a time. And I was sitting there saying, okay, if that other person can do this, then I can. I just have to figure out how. Now, I want to repeat, I don't see alcohol as some terrible poison. If you want to drink it as an adult human, that is 100% up to you. But if you want to drink less, or if you want to drink not at all, then that's possible too, right? Again, I want you to just see these opportunities and what's out there. I want you to see that you can drink less or not at all in a way that gives you more pleasure than today. That's what I want for you, to get your relationship with alcohol to a place where you are the one in control, where you set the ground rules and where you follow through in the way that you want, right? It's all about you. So that's the first thing. And I will add as well that how you do this is also very important. Because if you're someone who says you just want to be able to tolerate your life without drinking, right? You're just going to survive it. I want you to think about what that means. It means you're saying your life is basically not going to be as good when you're not drinking, right? You might say, I'm going to be healthy. It's a good thing. But it's also going to be worse because I'm not going to be able to go out and drink hilariously with my friends. So life will seem that little bit less. But at least I won't be drinking so much, or at least I won't be drinking at all. Like I say, I'll be healthy. I do hear people say this. And I will always offer that I think if you are kind of bludgeoning your way through life, I'm just gonna grit my teeth. I'm just gonna bear it. I'm not gonna drink. It's just gonna seem that little bit less. I really don't think that will work, and it certainly won't be enjoyable, right? But it won't work because your desire for the alcohol is always going to be high that way, right? When we create something that's irresistible, we can't have it. We say we're not allowed that. We just want that thing even more. And also because you're always going to go around thinking, well, life would be so much better with alcohol. And this could be, you could be having the most marvelous time, not having drunk a drop, but maybe that little voice in your brain will still be saying, this is okay, but that glass of champagne, half a bottle of champagne, well, it'd be so much better, right? So I don't want you to be in that position. So the trend I typically see is that that's actually very, very normal and very natural. As we go from thinking it's going to be worse with less or no alcohol to, it's actually okay. It's actually fine. It's not that bad. Not as bad as I thought. To, oh my word, this is so much better. Right? I see this again and again and again. Right? So we start out, as I said just now, doing it for all the right reasons. Probably going to have a bit of a worse life, a bit more dull, but I'm going to feel healthier. It's going to be nice to not have the hangovers right in the morning. We can look forward to that because that's a very immediate benefit that we will get, and it's a physical benefit as well, very tangible. So I'm not going to have the hangovers, even if maybe the night before would be a bit sort of meh, as my children would say. It's a little bit like, I always think, the idea of eating kale for the rest of your life. I don't happen to like kale. So if you love kale, think of, insert something else in that sentence that is very healthy. You're meant to be very healthy. Because even if something sounds good and right and healthy and sensible. That kind of thinking just doesn't last. Because who wants to live longer if it involves eating kale every day? Right? This is where we get into you only live once thinking. We get toppled off our stringent AF streaks with the offer of a free drink, right? Or we feel won over by a friend in a pub. I was doing so well, tolerating my life, avoiding all the highs and lows and just kind of doing the thing, not having the hangovers. And there was my friend, and she'd bought me this free drink, and it was right there. And before I knew it, I was drinking it, right? No wonder that happens, because we are pleasure-seeking missiles, us, right, humans. I wouldn't want to live sort of holding myself back every day or eating kale every day, right? It just doesn't seem like a fun existence. If I could live for 100 years, it doesn't seem like a fun existence. But I want you to see that this is all about your thinking. So even at the beginning, I would like you to cement in your brain, or at least just, if cement is too strong, it's too firm, just start to plant the idea in your brain that doing this, making this change is your choice. It's not because you have to. It's not because your health demands it. Even if you're saying, but Anna, that is the reason, right? Even if that is the reason, I want you to reframe this as I am choosing to do this. I want to do this. I'm doing this out of choice. And then I want you to start to be open to the idea that it may not actually be as bad as you think. And by it, I mean the process of learning how to drink less, right? And all the failure that will come there. Guaranteed you're going to fail a heap ton of times. But also that life afterwards won't be this negative, barren, boring, dull and dreary place. Just to see that there's possibility that might not be your experience. Because what I hear time and time again is, it wasn't that bad. Actually, it was okay. I went to that party. I had far less than I normally wouldn't. Yeah, it really was okay. And it's so funny when I have these conversations with my clients, because they're almost in surprise at what they experience, right? And we tend to have a little giggle, actually, right? This event, going alcohol free or not drinking very much, this thing that they were so fearful of actually wasn't that bad. Not really. And then I asked, would they choose to do that again? And sometimes they say, yeah, but I need a little while to get back up to that, gear back up to that. Totally fine. No judgment from me. But again, often what I hear is, yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd do that again. And again, there's another element of surprise. They find themselves saying, yeah, why not? I mean, it really was okay, Anna. and look at that. Look at me. I was doing something healthy as well. So I was having a good time. I was having a fine time. We don't get too overblown about having the most tremendous time to start with. But I had a fine time. It was okay. Totally okay. So why not? Maybe not every day I do that, but yeah, I consider giving it another go. And then as we move through the process, as we start to do this more and more, we change our thinking on this, we change our approach, our experience changes, right? We start to call ourselves out. We start to call out the stories that we're told and fed by society and our friends and maybe our parents and advertisements and greetings cards and films and whatever, right? That alcohol makes things better, or alcohol is a part of everyday life. And then we start to call ourselves out on that. And then we start to see that actually, yes, it can be better. Things can be better with less or no alcohol. Hand on heart, better. I promise you. You do this enough times, and that's when some clients start to flirt with the idea of actually going the whole hog and going alcohol free, because they're starting to question really what alcohol offers. I see this time and time and time and time again. People come to me predominantly wanting to moderate because there's any number of reasons. They want to still keep alcohol in their lives is the main one. But as we start to peel back the layers and not just see what's possible, but experience what's possible, right? To really go to the party, go to the pub, have a fantastic time. I mean, truly fantastic time. And then drive yourself home stone cold sober. We start to question, really, actually, what do we want? What is alcohol offering? It's not offering us a better time. Maybe it's just offering us a headache. Maybe it's just offering us restriction because we can't drive ourselves home from the party. Right? We start to see it for different angles, and that brings up possibility. Now, when I work with clients, I set up little challenges that we work on each week, right? We agree things that they're going to have a go at doing over the next week if they're up for it, just to see what it's like. Right? I want you to listen to my words here. This is not all right, it's now week X, you've got to do this. If you haven't done this, you're a total screw up. Or you should be able to do this by now. You better. Right? No, it's none of that. We kind of have fun with it. We play with it. What would this be like? We work and move into curiosity. Things like, can you go to visit your friends at her house and only drink a couple of glasses of wine? Or maybe can you go to your friends and drink 3 or 4 glasses of wine when typically you drink 5, right? We start with some very modest goals. Can you go to the pub and for the first drink at least, order a lime and soda? Right? Can you go to a restaurant and just turn down every top up? Right? Don't let the waiter top your glass up bit by bit, but have you be the one who calls them over when you are ready for a new glass to be poured, right? You're asserting your control over yourself. Things like that, right? Can you do that? Give it a go. And then we stretch things out a bit more. And then we start to make the challenges a little harder. And before long, the most amazing thing is that my clients invariably become the ones saying, well, I wonder what this would be like. What do you think about this? This is what I'm going to try this week. Or when we're reviewing the past week, I say, my goodness, what happened there? You had like a 3-day streak of alcohol-free days. And they might say, well, I just wanted to see what it was like. And then we talk about how they did it to make sure they're not willpowering and all the rest of it, right? But see, the drive to change becomes the thing that is fun, right? Back to the top of the stack here, that it's more fun than you think. So actually the process of being coached and the process of learning new things about yourself can be huge fun. Here's a very specific example of this. One of my clients had always drunk the free drinks on plane trips, right? Did a lot of travel for business and pleasure, many years. I'd always just said yes to the free wine, whatever it was. So we started out by adopting a different approach for short haul flights. In fact, I think we started with trains, with short train journeys, right? We've sort of focused here on travel. We do a train journey and wouldn't have any wine on it, or wouldn't take any wine on it, on the train. And then we looked at doing that for short haul flights, right? And this is all fairly short journeys, hour here, hour and a half there. And then it came time for them to do a long haul flight. And actually, before they even gave me the opportunity to set up a challenge for it, they did it themselves, right? They offered that to me. I think that flight was 12 hours. And then my client announced he was going to do it alcohol free because he wanted to see what it was like, right? It wasn't coming from some thou shalt do this, ... rule. It was, okay, let's see what's possible here. He'd seen it was possible for the short haul. He was intrigued to know, would the same thing work for the long haul? How would it feel? What would be different? What different skills would he need to deploy, and how would the experience be? And it all came from him, right? Not from any pushing. From me, it just came from the encouragement that we'd been building out. He was starting to have fun with it. And you know what? He did it. He blew his own mind with what he was capable of. He told me he didn't just find it okay, he actually enjoyed the flight, right? It was a good flight. He slept. It wasn't drinking that cheap booze and getting dehydrated and then having to drink lots of water and then spending the night going to the loo and all that stuff and waking up, with that super dry throat, all dehydrated when you land. None of that. He set it up as a challenge to look forward to. He enjoyed the challenge. He enjoyed the result. There was no hint of tolerating his life at all. So this is what happens, right? We start to consider new options and new possibilities, which is huge, huge, tremendous fun. And then we inevitably get to the following, right? If an experience is better without alcohol or with less alcohol, does that mean that that experience is actually lesser, right? It's not as good when alcohol is in the picture, right? This gets our heads into a bit of a tiz because we're kind of going against the grain, right? Because we get so used to saying, well, alcohol makes us better, and so not having the alcohol is going to make it worse. And then when it's the reverse, when actually we can have a lot of fun, can be better without, what does that mean with? Ooh, right? We start to really question ourselves at that point. This is when we start to see things are possible, and we start to see that, yes, folks, that life without alcohol or with less alcohol is more fun than they first thought. Now, another question I get asked frequently on this is, what is a good replacement for alcohol? What am I going to drink instead that's going to be just as much fun? Right, we're going to go out to this thing, got to have fun, right? We have this expectation of fun. If I'm not going to have the wine, what am I going to have that's going to give me that sense of equal fun? Now, the alcohol industry is starting to get into this with the idea of replacement fancy drinks. Of course, right? They see where the money is. Now, I have nothing against this at all. I think it's an excellent new change in the industry. But I want you to consider the idea that no replacement for alcohol is necessary, actually. Right? That's the amazing thing. Right? We don't have to replace it. If someone is coming off heroin, we don't say, right now, what we can offer them that's just as good as heroin but a bit safer. I'm not talking here about, withdrawal programs and so I'm saying, once somebody's off heroin, what would we say? What can we offer them now? What's on this shelf that they can have that's just as good as heroin but a bit safer? No, we don't say that. We encourage them to learn to live without it. So I want you to consider that there is no need for something as good as wine in your life or champagne in your life because you have your life. When you reduce the alcohol, you will start to see what you are capable of. You will start to ask, how can you create more fun for yourself instead of seeing it as coming in a glass? My top 2 favorite drinks right now, hold on to your hats here, folks. This is going to blow your minds. Are soda water with a slice of lime in a wine glass or San Pellegrino water in a wine glass. That's it. Truly, that's it. Day in, day out, those are my fun drinks. Those are just my drinks, right? Because I don't see the drink as being the thing that creates the fun. I am my own fun-making machine. Although I will say in passing, if you're ever in London, the cocktail bar in Brown's Hotel serves an absolutely spiffing alcohol-free cocktail. It was really lovely. It was something to do with an Agatha Christie theme. I had this great big ice cube in it and this slice of orange. It was delicious. I should look it up and tell you folks. I should maybe put it in the show notes. All right, so that was fun, right? But otherwise, really, I truly do not need some fancy schmancy drink. I can't overstate how the consumption of drink in going out situations is supremely unimportant to me. I don't spend any time thinking about it at all or thinking that I'm getting less than because I'm just going to have some water. Right, we went to this Oktoberfest thing the other weekend Right, there was this great big tent. They had all the big long tables, all the waiting staff had all the Bavarian costumes. There were the sausages and the pretzel, and there was the umpire band and all the beer. They had no alcohol-free beer, right? None. So I had a sausage, I had some pretzel and some sweet mustard, and nothing to drink. I didn't want water or Coke. I just didn't feel like it. I was happy with nothing. The waiters were confused, right? But it was totally fine. I wasn't thirsty, and that was that. If they'd had an alcohol-free beer, I might have done it because it was beer. It's Oktoberfest, and it's the whole point. But, it was okay. But I had a great time without. Totally fine. Now, I spent a lot of time telling you about life without alcohol because that's really how I live my life these days. I don't call myself sober, but I really don't choose to drink, apart from the odd sip here or there if I'm particularly intrigued with how something tastes. But I'm talking about how a life without alcohol is more fun. The same is true of drinking less. I'm going to tell you this with 100% certainty, that my clients who seek and achieve moderation, whatever that means for them, and it's typically they want to drink either quote unquote normally, or they want to just be able to take it or leave it, they all say that they get more pleasure from drinking less. They enjoy whatever it is they're drinking more because they are having less of it. And I am talking way less. I'm not meaning because they just don't get drunk or they don't black out. I mean, they might have just the one glass, just 1 or 2 glasses, and they savor it, right? They taste the flavor. They notice it. They're not just lugging it like it's water, like it doesn't matter, right? They're actually choosing, I'm going to have this wine, I'm going to have it for this reason, and they enjoy it more. Less is more. It's one of my lovely clients' favorite sayings and favorite learnings in this process. So how do we make it fun? So we've talked about the end result being fun, but I think it's equally important to look at the process, right? The process of how we get there. I say again and again that the way we reach a result is the way we stay there. So for instance, if you are drinking less because you're staying in every night and you're never being within easy reach of open wine, because the temptation would be too much, that is not sustainable, my friends, because it's not fun. And remember that we as humans are pleasure-seeking creatures, so no wonder we rebel after a point, right? When things start, we have a bad day, we're not feeling good, we might say, forget this. Well, I don't want to sit here and not have I want to have some fun for a change. I want to live a little, I want to let loose. That's when we go for the wine, right? Because we've been holding ourselves back from it. So if you're making any kind of change to your consumption, I want you to ask yourself how you're doing it and whether that's sustainable. All right, again, think to how, if you have the worst day at work, are you going to be willing to willpower your way through the evening? Right, I know I certainly wasn't, and that was one of the reasons why I decided and knew, why I teach my clients we just don't use willpower. Can be a handy resource for many things in life, certainly not for changing regular behavior like drinking. I want you to think about the version of you who most needs your help and how you want to show up for him or her, right? And if you don't, this is where you're going to be back to day one and all that malarkey, right? Because you're just going to be kind of crossing your fingers and hoping against hope that you're going to be strong enough. And ultimately there will come a time when you aren't. Now, if you find counting days helpful, please go at it. But I actually don't see that as a useful measure, at least over the long term. I find it too often becomes about protecting the streak of days rather than the new behaviors you are learning in order to create a streak of days, right? 2 separate things. Now, to me, it is such fun. I mean, truly such fun to think that I'm the one who's giving myself the best chance at being successful, right? I don't have a challenge around this with my drinking anymore, right? Been there, done that. This is why I now do this work, helping others achieve that freedom. But I still apply this way of thinking, this skill to other areas of my life. For instance, in my business. Right, now consider, if I hated marketing, hated doing podcasts, writing podcasts, recording podcasts, editing podcasts, doing social media, hated selling, hated tracking, just hated all of it, right? I was just tolerating it. Then it's pretty certain I'm not going to have a sustainable business, because I'm going to be spending so much time avoiding all the things that I really ought to be doing to do the business. Whereas if I see it as a series of challenges just to figure out, that makes it lighter and more fun, right? This is another example of how we reach a result is how we stay there. I like to think that I make the process fun, although that's not always going to be the case, and that's okay as well. But certainly there's a huge difference between flogging yourself, telling yourself you should do this, you ought to do that, rather than, okay, I'm choosing to do this. What could this teach me about myself? Totally different vibe there. Now, I like to make these podcasts practical and very pragmatic, right? There's a lot of common sense on here, stuff you can start using straight away. I'm all about applying, not just learning. So I have a little challenge for you. And please do let me know how you get on with this. You can contact me on anna@90dayslater.co. I love hearing from my listeners. Okay, so here's the challenge. Right, we tell ourselves on repeat that it's more fun with the wine or the cocktails or the beer. And that tends to be our most practiced thought. And as that is the case, we tend to believe that thought. Over the next week, when you find yourself thinking something like, okay, a glass of wine would make this more fun, or this is more boring without the beer, whatever it is, I want you to ask yourself the exact opposite question. How is it more fun to do the thing without the wine? For instance, I'm meeting my friends at the cocktail bar. How can I have more fun without a cocktail? All right? Screws your head around a little bit there. You're going to a cocktail bar and you're not going to have a cocktail. How can you have fun? Ask yourself. Another example, I'm doing email. How can I have more fun doing email without a glass of wine to grease the wheels, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to actually go ahead and do the thing. I'm not saying you have to go to the cocktail party or cocktail bar and not have the cocktail. That's not what we're saying. But I want you to open your mind up to it being a possibility, to it being an option. Because so often we don't even go there ever. All right, we go to it won't be as much fun, but I guess I'll be healthy. And kind of do it dragging our feet. So I just want you to go full hog into considering the complete opposite approach. I want you to really quiz yourself and be open to it. See what you come up with. If you find yourself saying, well, I don't know, don't accept that, right? This is lazy brain thinking, to think, I don't know. Even if all you come up with is something like, so how can it be fun to go to the cocktail bar and not drink a cocktail? Even if it's, I can drive myself home whenever I want, right? Go with that. That's a start. But I really want you to challenge yourself to think differently. The more you do this, the more you will see how much your default thinking, things like it's Friday night, it's wine, at the end of the day, it's relaxed with a glass of wine, the more information you will have to decide what you really want for yourself. Doing that challenge is so good, right? Because it's a mini game between you and you. You start to see what you're capable of, which leads me on to my final point today. The most fun thing I've learned transforming my relationship with alcohol is how I see myself. I still marvel that I could do that, right? That I buck the trend where women drink wine and too much of it. I like the confused face of waiters when we say no to the wine menu. I like the fact I can turn down the free shot that's often offered at the end of the meal. Right, the other day at this sushi burger fusion place, and the waiter offered us both a free shot of this substance that he told us was rose tequila, I think it was. Never heard of it before. He said, yeah, it's very popular with the ladies, looking at me. But I just said no thank you. And I felt so proud of myself. It was just a small thing, but this was just the patter. It didn't mean anything to me. It's totally fine. I didn't feel rude. As some people said, don't you feel rude turning down free drink? No, I like to think that maybe he's pleased that I turned it down, because he can then offer that to somebody else now and it improves his profit margins, right? Something like that. So it's how I see myself has changed. That is the most fun. I look at all the time I've saved from changing my relationship with alcohol. I look at the business I've grown on the back of this one thing I did for myself. The biggest thing of all is really probably comes down to being authentic, just experiencing my life as it is, warts and all, glory and all. I have no need to drown my sorrows ever. I have no need to make a good occasion more. I still have bad days and I still have good days, but I do it without the spikes, right, at either end. I don't have these huge dopamine highs that then create the crash of low after it. To have gone from dulling and artificially enhancing my life to actively creating the life I want, being the CEO of my life, not just my business. Now, there is nothing more fun than that. And that is open to every single one of you. So that's it for today. But if you know you want to change your drinking, but you're not sure how to do it, then really let's talk. How much time do you have to get this sorted? Right? I have a route that will take you from where you are now to where you want to be. Straight line. You want to drink less or not at all, and I help people do that. We are a match made in heaven. And if what I say resonates, let's please jump on a call where I will give you a taste of what's possible for you. What you decide to do with that insight, totally up to you. But you can get time on my calendar by going to 90dayslater.co and clicking on the button to book a call. Thank you so much for listening. Please do rate and review and share. Share this podcast, share this episode with someone you love who you think it might help. And I will see you next week. If you like what you're learning in the podcast and want to take the work further and achieve total freedom around alcohol, let's talk. I help my clients stop reaching for that first glass of wine the moment 6 p.m. rolls around and they don't miss out on life. And we do it in 90 days. The effect is permanent. Email me for more information on anna@90dayslater.co. And if you did enjoy the show, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a rating and review to help others find the 90 Days Later podcast.